Well, I want to say that I read the major media quite often, just for facts and things, but I don't actually buy into what they tell me all the time because they're very good liars, deceivers. Um, there seems to be a relentless attack by the major media on gold and silver, saying they're poor investments, gold is nothing but a rock. And it really does nothing and that type of stuff. And they expect it actually to decline further, like and crash like Bitcoin's crash, vertically down. Um, I want to point out something else because this whole thing, people are looking at gold and silver, they're getting tunnel vision, but all the commodities are down. Partly the reason they stated officially is because of an unexpected slowdown in China. But that's not the whole deal. I suspect something else. And actually, this unexpected slowdown in China, if the U.S. numbers were as good as the GDP growth of China, or even half that, they'd be jumping for joy. And China has a slowdown. It's not severe enough to actually warrant why they'd be dumping all these things. And actually, gold is not a commodity per se. It doesn't have very much in the way of industrial use. There's other factors going on. But I want to point out, before I say what I think is going on, is look at some other things. Because something else that's going down greatly in price is food commodities. They also took a nosedive not long ago, maybe a month ago. They took a serious nosedive. Like corn went down like this. It just took a nosedive. And it doesn't make sense fundamentally in a lot of ways, because in the United States, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because something's up here. It's almost like this is a fake out. I don't know if it's a deliberate fake out or what, but it's a fake out. And I can actually, you can make a case for any argument you want, but I'm sticking with the most common sense facts. The United States had the largest drought we've had since 1936. And, basically equal that drought, which was like the Great Dust Bowl of the 1930s. Great, all this farmland, this great producing farmland is now totally arid. So the crop production's way down in the United States, and we were major exporters of food. So that's not going on now, obviously. The other thing is, in Russia, there was a big drought. I know there was one in 2010, but there's a bigger drought in 2012, 2013. And it's been as bad as the biggest drought they had since Khrushchev was in charge of what was now known as Russia in the 1960s. They expect, wheat to go down to record level lows. Now, Australia also has record droughts. Also in Argentina, they're having problems with food production too. Also, even in Europe. Now, add all this up. How come food is going down? It's almost like, why is gold going down, but why is food going down? Why is every other commodity pretty much going down? What I think is going on here is I think that there's a rush by the top people to actually buy up these commodities cheap, because I think the end is coming up. Usually before, even if you look, I don't know if we're going to go to Weimar Republic inflation, but if you look before, gold actually had a dip before it started taking off in the Republic of Germany. We're not going into deflation. I know there's a lot of deflationists out there talking about hold on to cash, but that's going to be the trap. You look back, it doesn't, pretty much before you get to this hyperinflation or real hard inflation, we always have deflation. It's been like a rule. And somehow I think it's because there's a policy to actually push the prices down, because the smartest money on the top wants that stuff cheap. They want it cheap. They want to buy it from people cheap, give them cash, and let them get stuck holding the bag, which is cash. In the case of today, with the way the fiat currency is, cash is going to be the bad thing to be holding. Now, Lenin, the original Marxist in Russia, said one thing that is the king currency, it's not actually gold, it's food. He says wheat or food. Actually, when you think about it, would you rather have, dozens of cans of this, like something like this, it says milk, which is not bad too, it's a pretty good, it's actually called the nearly perfect food. has a lot of protein and vitamins and minerals and things, versus having an ounce of gold. And actually that food is probably going to go up. If there's a real crunch, some kind of global financial catastrophe, food is actually going to go up fast as gold. It will. They'll follow each other. Gold is basically going to keep track of inflation. Big, large assets, maybe, those will maybe go cheap. But essentials like food and energy, I think that's going to pretty much follow the price of gold pretty closely. So, you know, my advice, though, I think gold is actually a very smart thing to buy now because it's very cheap, and the major media is trying to dissuade people. But the other thing that has been dropping in price, or maybe not so much at the retail level, is food. Food is going to be a major shortage. You know, we keep concentrating on, you know, what's the global production of gold, what's going on with the silver mines, and that type of stuff. But you know what you're going to be using that for later on, unless it's a major speculative bet, is food. And it looks like it's not just the United States that's had these record droughts. It's been in the Soviet Union Russia. And Russia actually exports a hell of a lot of, it's one of the top wheat growing regions in the world. And they expect their wheat reserves to be down to like record levels here pretty soon. See, things don't actually have a direct cause and effect right away because they have stockpiles. But those stockpiles are not going to be replenished. As a matter of fact, in the United States, some of the food prices probably decreased, like with meat products, is because they figured they don't have enough grain to feed these animals, so they slaughtered a lot of the animals, which put a lot of beef and stuff on the market. But later on, that's going to boomerang and go the other way because then there's going to be a shortage. It's actually going to be a major spike in food prices. I know Lindsey Williams predicted this for like 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012. But now it looks like things are actually coming together for this. And one of the ways to actually protect your savings is to buy gold. But before you buy gold, make sure you have plenty of freeze-dried food on hand, because actually that is going to be more important than anything. You know, people like concentrate too much on the gold and silver, but you got to think, if there's an emergency and, you know, there's really super high prices in food or whatever or something like that, you're going to protect your money better by buying it up now and stockpiling it. And the facts are there. This is not conspiracy theory. The facts are there. We've had a record drought in the United States, and the United States is a major food producer for the entire world. We export food. We had the worst drought since 1936. In Russia, they're also a food producer, major food producer, major breadbasket. They export food to the world. They had the worst drought since the 1960s. Also, there's been problems with food production, droughts in Australia, Argentina, and even in the European Union. Add all that up. Now, if you want to really throw something else in there that's more of a wild card, that I don't know what's going to come up with this because they've been talking about it for years, but what's going on with the bee colony collapses. You know, there's a much greatly reduced bee colonies in the world which pollinate all the crops, which most of the crops in the world are dependent upon. And these colonies are collapsing left and right, either due to, I don't know, it could be microwave towers, pesticides, I don't know. I mean, there's various reasons they have out there, or GMO crops, or whatever. I'm not sure what the reason is, but it is a fact that the bee colonies seem to be collapsing throughout the world. And they have not put a stop to it, and its problem's getting worse, which is bad for food production. So, but yet, we saw last month the prices of like major commodities in corn and stuff drop like a stone. See, it doesn't agree with the fundamentals. And this is like we're seeing this across the board in the metals and everything else. So stick with your positions, but more importantly, you know, if you don't have a big pile of stockpiled food, like, you know, I'm showing, I got various cans of this stuff, but say if you got even, you know, this is not a bad one to get where you don't even have to get it in a 30-day container, 30-year container. You can just get condensed milk, powdered milk from stores and stuff, and stock up on those type of things, because, you know, buying some more silver and you have no food storage, I think that would be foolish. This is going to be coming up, so I assume that it's going to have to be coming up fairly soon. Now I know Cliff, I'm getting long on here, but I know Cliff High, he talked about food shortages in 2013, early 2013. He had made all these predictions so far for the year, and I look back, they don't look correct to me. But I don't know how he's predicting it, but I'm not predicting anything off of any type of web analogies or analytics or anything like that, or astrology or anything like that. I'm just looking at hard, cold facts. Record droughts throughout the world in places that produce food for the world. It's going to have to mean that prices are going to go up here shortly. I mean, I think once the stockpiles, start running down more low, this futures market is actually what's governing the price of food too. The futures market, just like with gold and silver, there's something going on. It's almost like I think what's possibly going on behind the scenes is the biggest, smartest money is probably buying up all this stuff cheap. And when people need it and they actually need the physical product, they're going to charge them through the nose. So if you're going to make an investment now as far as buying gold and silver on the dips, make sure you buy emergency food. Very important.